Welcome to the Hidden World of Women, a podcast brought to you by Women's Health and Wellbeing Services. My name is Emma and I'll be your host for today's episode. Today I'm joined by an absolutely amazing and inspiring woman. And I'm not just saying that because she is my mum. She's giving me a very funny look right now. Today I'm joined by Kathryn. Kathryn she's just such a beautiful teacher, and she focuses on seeing all the children that are in her class and making them feel safe and making them feel as though they belong. She focuses on trying to create a really great relationship with the kids that are in her room and trying to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be empowered and inspired and really want to be able to get the most out of their own education. But that hasn't always been the case. So Kathryn actually trained to be a teacher and qualified later in life. She went back to school at the age and finished at the age of 40, starting a whole new career when a lot of women are starting to think that actually, oh, well, this is my career. I'm stuck in this for the rest of my life. Kathryn didn't do that. She instead went, well, this isn't what I want to be doing. I've got something else that I want to go, and I've still got a lot of years before I retire, so I'm going to give it a shot. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So thank you very much for joining me.
You're most welcome.
Fantastic. So as I said, you did actually go back to school when you were, you were what, 35 when you went back to uni? So it's not exactly, it's not exactly later in life, is it?
No.
It felt like it at the time, but now 36 seems really quite young.
And it wasn't going back to uni. I'd never been to uni in my life. So it was a completely different thing. That's something I'd never done before and never thought about doing.
No, and I think that was something that I was going to bring up as well. So you left school at, was it 15?
15, yes.
So you left school at 15 and career wasn't necessarily something that you chose.
No, my mum told me what I was going to do, and I did as I was told.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was raised as well. You told me exactly what to do, and I did it. That's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Not quite.
Similar, I'm sure. So you went to work in an office?
That's right, yes, I did.
And did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I had a ball, and I went off to college and shorthand and typing, something that nobody knows about anymore now. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it and I had a ball.
And yet then what happened after that?
All right, well, after that, I changed jobs and then hated where I was. Got married, and then I had my children, and so I stayed at home, and then we emigrated. We came across to Australia.
So you stayed at home, but you didn't stay at home. So you worked the whole time that you had children.
I worked part-time. I worked around my husband's hours.
Yeah.
So I went in when people couldn't and filled in and in a large warehouse, and I worked on the tills at the end. So yeah, I did anything that would bring a little bit of money into the house, because we were one wage down, having two wages down to one, and then having 2 more mouths to support.
So yeah, you went off. You and Dad obviously worked different shifts, and similar to my husband and I joked for quite some time that the secret to a good marriage is you can't fight if you don't see each other.
That's perfect. Exactly right. Yes.
Tag teaming parenting, that one comes in and one goes out, and that's it. You can't fight that way. Sadly, I joked about that, and now my husband works from home and he's never out from under my feet. So then I guess as my brother and I, we started school, then you started helping out in the schools.
Yes, that's right. I mean, we'd only just come over to Australia, so I knew no one. We had no group of friends to fall back on. My husband's family were here, but they weren't in the same area as us.
This is not what we're talking about today, but what was that like coming over to... So you'd never left England before?
I'd gone...
Going to Jersey doesn't count.
No, that's true. I had it, and when I moved house, I moved 10-minute walk away from where I was born.
Yeah. So you were born at number 23. You moved up the street to number 32.
That's right.
And then when you got married, you moved to a 10-minute walk away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so from that, you'd never left the country. You'd never, you'd never been more than 10 minutes from the place you were born. And then you moved to the other side of the world.
No.
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen, never been here. It was just something that your dad wanted to do. He'd travelled all his life with his father being in the RAF police, and he'd moved around. He'd had 19 houses by the time he was 19.
Yeah.
So he'd always moved and he wanted to go. So I said I would come and try it for 2 years. And it was like a holiday. And I've treated it like a holiday for a long time.
Yeah. How was it though? I suppose when you go on holiday, you don't take your friends with you, but how was it going to a place where the culture's really different, obviously the weather is really different, the housing is that's quite different.
Very different.
The schooling system is totally different as well. We speak the same language, but sometimes I do wonder. And then with no social supports and having to leave your family.
I suppose I was very lucky. I mean, my family was my children and my husband. And I come from a large family. Leaving my father was the hardest bit to do. But no, as I said, it was like a holiday, and that's how I kept looking at it. And I knew that I had that backup. If it didn't suit me, we could go home. I never ever wanted to go home.
Yeah,
ever. So this is home.
It's funny, isn't it, that this is home, and then when we do go back to the UK, you think, yeah, this isn't home.
Definitely not. Don't want to be there.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's lovely for a holiday.
Yep.
But yeah, it's probably time to go back home again. So then you went and, obviously you didn't have that social support. My brother and I were at school, and so you started to, I guess, participate with our schooling.
Yeah, I volunteered at the school, and I loved it. I would go into different classrooms, not just yours, but other kids, other teachers, and help out. And then they offered me a position as an EA, and they wanted me to train as an EA, so I went off to uni one weekend a month and studied for my EA course. Yeah.
So you had 2 quite young children when you did that, and you'd finished school at 15. To be fair, from everything I've heard, you didn't go much when you were 15 anyway.
No.
So
I really didn't like school. It interfered with my social life.
Yeah. So it had been a while since you'd been to school. It had been a while since you'd been to school consistently and done the work that you were supposed to do. And then all of a sudden you were thrown into the deep end of, oh, right, so now I'm going to uni. What was that like?
It was quite frightening the first few weeks. It really was. But it was a chance to meet new people.
Yeah.
And, just have a look at how different people lived and make friends. So that's how I looked at it. As for the work, it was challenging because I hadn't done anything like that, as you say, for a long time. But once I got into the routine of it, it became fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. How did you... So at the time, you had 2 quite young children because this was when you first went back to study.
Yeah.
So you got 2 quite young children. And then, so Dad was working shifts at the time. You were still working. Did you have any strategies to be able to help you to be able to juggle all of that?
No.
You so did.
No, what did I have? That was a strategy. I didn't. I just jumped in.
Oh, yeah. Look, you did just jump in. But I do remember that, on those weekends, it would be, well, Adam cooked on Saturday, I cooked on Sunday, those kinds of things to be able to...
Yes.
Yeah.
And also when I was studying, we would do our studying together. So that was a big strategy for me. So that we'd sit around the table, you would do your homework and I would do my homework. And then your dad, if he was at home, he would cook the teas at night. If he wasn't, then we'd get tea together. And yes, that part of you learning to grow up was that you had to learn to cook as well. Yeah. So, yeah, you did.
Everyone chipped in.
Yeah.
So then I think that was an 18-month course, but it was 1 weekend a month for 18 months, and there was, work and things projects that you had to do in between.
Yep.
And then you were, at the time it was called a teacher's assistant, but it's an EA now. So you were an EA for a while. What made you think that actually you'd been doing EA and now you wanted to go on and become a teacher?
Do you really want a truthful answer?
I'm not sure, but I can always go back and edit it because I think I know what you're going to say.
Look, I loved it. I loved being part of the school and watching the kids learn and just helping them. I got such great joy from that. But I always thought my spelling would let me down because as a shorthand typist, which I'd done before, I lost all my spelling because you do everything phonetically. So I thought how could I teach kids spelling when my spelling wasn't so crash hot? And I went into a classroom where the headmaster spelt dolphin with an F.
Oh.
And that was it. So that was it. I thought, well, if he's got to headmaster and he still spells dolphin with an F, I'm off.
Oh, that's okay. That's not what I thought you were going to say. That's an okay story to share. Yeah. So, and that's the thing, isn't it? We kind of have this idea that people who are in careers that we aspire to, well, they're perfect, or, whereas if I measure myself against them, I'm not going to measure up well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I wonder whether or not because you hadn't gone on beyond 15 at school, whether or not that was more of an issue for you.
As a 15-year-old, there wasn't a lot of options. So university was an unknown thing. That really was for the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, as you said.
You never went to school, so you wouldn't know.
No, I still passed all my exams.
That was more luck than anything else, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. But yeah, so there wasn't that. And my parents wanted me to have a better job than they had.
Yeah.
And so Mom thought that an office was the best place to be. Mm-hmm. So that's where I had to go.
Yeah.
So there was no aspiring to anything. This is where you went. Your mom told you what you did, and you did it. Mm-hmm. That's it, really.
Yeah. So then when it came to the idea of going to uni, what were your main concerns around that?
Was I smart enough? Would I be able to cope with the workload?
Yeah.
Are they going to laugh at me? Because I haven't written a paper or anything for university ever.
Yeah. So
what language are they going to use? Am I going to understand it? Or am I just going to look a fool?
Now, I'm just going to share a story that is really... She's shaking her head because she knows what short story I'm going to share. So Mum actually studied externally. Part of that means that you don't get to participate. At the time, it wasn't set up for online the way that it is now. So when you studied externally, same when I did my master's externally, you just read the books, you read the journal articles, you read, whatever was in the literature for that week, you read it, participated on the online forums, that kind of thing, but you didn't actually get to hear the lectures. So prior to one of the exams, Mum had gone into uni to sit the exam for the first time and was speaking to some internal students who were all talking about this particular author or particular present, theorist type thing, Piaget. And so then she's starting to panic because they're all talking about Piaget and she has no idea who on earth Piaget is at all, never even heard of him. And then one of the students points to the name and she's like, "Oh, Pia Git." So, that kind of thing that, you do make those things of not, but when that happened, you didn't die.
No, I just laughed.
Yeah.
I thought it was hysterical. Because
how many years later, I still think it's hysterical. Every time I see Piaget, I think, Pia Git. But I think we do have this idea around, what's it going to be like and what are people going to think of me? And now when I'm doing some workshops at the moment and there's some more mature people than I am age-wise sitting at the front of they always sit at the front. And this woman's hand is always in the air. I think I'm going to sit on it in a minute. You need to sit on your hand and I need to sew your lips shut. Stop talking. So often I think when you're a younger student and you see older students coming in, you think, oh God, because the more mature students, they're much more invested in it and they're more excited and they've done the reading and the younger students have been in the tab. So.
That definitely wasn't me. I was the one that would sit at the back and keep quiet because I was afraid that if I said anything, they would laugh at me.
Yeah.
After all, Piaget and Piaget are far away from each other. And that was it.
Yeah. And any other fears? So how did you go, the idea around you wouldn't be able to cope with the workload?
I still don't know how I did go with the workload in some ways, but yes, I did a 3-year course in 4 years, so I leveled it for myself.
Yeah.
But even that is still really quick.
When you were working and raising 2
Yeah.
children, and so you finished your uni course at the same time that I finished my year 12. It was also the same time that my brother left school, but that's probably definitely a story for another day.
Yeah.
So you were not only going through that for yourself, but through all of my high school years and all of my final exams.
Yeah.
Just because it's not stressful enough doing your own uni, and it's not stressful enough parenting someone going through their year 12 exams. You did that at the same time.
Yeah.
With a husband that was a shift worker.
Yeah. And there was one time I'd been going
And
3.5 years, and I don't know what happened, but one time we sat around the table and I said, that's it, I'm not doing it, I'm not going back anymore, I can't do this, it's too much.
Yeah.
And I took 2 weeks off, and I had both you, your dad and your brother saying, you have to go back, you've come this far, you can't stop. And you were right. But I did hit the wall there, and that was it. I'd had enough, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But I was wrong. I could do it.
You could. That's it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Going back to before you started, it had been a while since you'd been to school, and you didn't have you hadn't done ATAR and things like that. And if you had done ATAR, it would have been out of date anyway. Yeah. So you had to sit the stat test.
Yes.
What was that like going into that?
I could have gone to courses to practice. I couldn't be bothered. So I decided, you know what, in for a penny, in for a pound. And I just sat there and just wrote. So it wasn't, I got going in the actual exams, it wasn't so bad. I think because I didn't believe that I would pass. Yeah. So it was just, let me see what I do, and I can go and do these courses after. But I did pass. So I was wrong.
Yeah, you were. What made you actually decide that you could do it?
I suppose it was with the final exam. But even now, I still sometimes think, somebody's going to come and say to me, what the heck are you doing? Yeah. Don't truly believe that I can do this.
And you were just such an amazing teacher, honestly. Like, it just makes me, I just think you're just so great with the kids, and every child who comes into your classroom is so incredibly lucky. And I'm not just saying that because I'm your daughter, but they're so incredibly lucky to have you as a teacher because you care. And as a parent, I don't care what my kids learn in the school. All I want is for somebody to actually care. And you not only teach them, but you genuinely care about the children that are in your classroom. And yet, despite that, you still have that imposter syndrome. You still have that thing of, I'm wondering when someone's actually going to find out that I'm just winging it. I've been winging and not actually sure how I ended up here or why I ended up here. Don't really know what I'm doing, but it's okay because no one's discovered me yet.
Yep, that's it. That's definitely it. So, that's some lovely words that you say. And I do really care about the kids.
You do.
I do.
And you like children.
I love them. And I love what I do.
Yeah.
I get a great buzz from going to school.
I mean, there are times where you struggle with your alphabet and you forget S when you're singing the alphabet song with the kids. My kids, not the school kids.
At the end of the day, that's it. Everything's God.
Yeah.
I put my heart and soul into it, but at the end of the day, I can't add 2 and 2 together. Yeah. Seriously cannot some days.
Yeah. At the start of the day, you can generally add 2 and 2, but...
Just.
Yeah, that's it. That's the reason you're teaching primary kids.
That's right, yes.
No, I'm teasing you. So... if you were talking to somebody else who was, they've been out of school for however long, they've been in whatever career that they've been doing, or not having a career, whether they've had children or they've, they don't count themselves as having a career, whether they do. If you had somebody who said, I'd really like to become a teacher, or I'd really like to go and study this, but I'm too old now. I could never do that. What would you say to them?
Rubbish. Basically. Go and do it. Have a go. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
All right. You decide you don't like it. do something else.
Mm.
I still don't think that this will be my last career change.
Mm.
If it ever gets to the stage where I'm not enjoying it, I'm coming home at night angry, frustrated and all that, I still think I will change my career.
Yeah.
So it's no longer, it used to be that once you had one career, you stayed there for life.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore. You don't have to. If you don't like it, change it. I did.
Yeah.
So,
And there's that thing that, I remember saying to my husband when he was probably about 35, he said something like, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I said to him, honey, I think you're doing it. But now I think, oh, actually, that's not how it is. Like,
no.
I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I've been doing this for however long, but just because I'm doing this doesn't mean that this is where I'm stuck for however long after this.
No.
It's that idea of, talking to someone and them saying, oh, yeah, but I'm 45 now. If I start studying now, I'd be 50 before I finished. Well, you're going to be 50 anyway. You want to be 50 with a degree or you want to be 50 without a degree?
There was a lady there when I went, and she was 65, and she just started to study.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was having a ball.
Yeah.
So, and she intended to go out and teach.
Mm.
So, yeah, no, age is no barrier.
Mm.
Age is one of the least barriers that you can have, to be quite honest.
What about, I can't do this because I've got young kids?
No. You can do anything that you want to do when you put your mind to it. You have to want to do it.
Mm.
So I wasn't sure whether I did want to do this or not in take on such a big workload. But I've never regretted it.
Mm.
So, and I would have regretted not having a go.
Yeah.
And you only get one go at this life. Go
Well, that's it. There's a chance that there is reincarnation, but it's not a risk I'm prepared to take. So I'm going to live as though there's only one go at it.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
And I think as well, when people say, oh, well, I've got children, it's too hard for me to go and study. There's so many options now to be able to do things online. So it's not external anymore. Now we do things online. But also you don't have to study full time. So you did yours at a 75% caseload.
That's right, yeah.
But you don't even have to do that. So yes, if you're doing 1 unit a semester, it's going to take you a long time to do your first year. But by the time your kids are out of nappies or by the time your kids are starting full-time school, you finished your first year. Do you want to be 1 year ahead and it might take you 8 years to do your first year of uni if you do 1 unit per semester, but you're still 8 units down, aren't you?
Yeah, you certainly are. And yeah, that's it. Choose a workload that suits you.
Mm.
And if you choose it low, you can always add on the next time.
Yeah.
Don't try to do the whole lot at once because you'll burn out.
There is the magic thing that if you drop out before the cut-off date, then there's no academic penalty and it doesn't cost you any money. So it's always good to know when that is as well.
There is.
So do you think that you would, so if you were, you've probably just actually answered this, but if you were to go through it again, would you do it again?
Yes, definitely. I still might do something else.
Oh, God.
So, yeah. And it will be easier.
I'm not sure if we could do it again. No, I'm kidding.
It will be easy this time because I won't have you two sitting around the table kicking each other. Being pins.
Yeah, look, we had an interesting way of showing affection towards each other. And also, if you do it again, well then, you don't have 2 kids. You're only working and so you've got less burden there, I guess. Yeah. So what other thoughts do you have about returning to or starting university as a mature age student? What were the other struggles?
Mine all centred around those papers, being able to understand them, being able to try not to write in university lingo that I really didn't understand.
Yeah, jargonese.
Yes. But I thought that's what I had to do. And once I stopped that, I became more comfortable. It was learning how to be a scholar.
And that's it. You don't. So always think, I remember sitting in a first year psych unit or something. I remember the lecturer saying something like, please don't use jargonese. And jargonese is when, why use 3 little words when 8 big words will do?
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
Use the 3 little words.
Yeah.
Because you don't try and be something that you're not. If you are the kind of person that can use the 8 big words and knows what they're talking about, but when you're trying to just jam all of these big words in there, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it certainly doesn't. I think that's what my first essay was like. My first assignment was full of all these words with ism on the end.
Yeah.
I stuck ism on everything. And it didn't work. But I was lucky that I had a tutor.
Yeah.
So I took advantage of all those things that were available then. So you have as an external student, you got a tutor, and I used to send my assignments in early and say, can you please tell me that I'm on the right track? Because I often, and still do, go off on tangents.
Yeah, look, there's a chance that sometimes you read a question or read part of a question, think you know what the rest of it's going to be, and then answer something totally different.
Yeah, that's me to a T. And she was very good that she would help me. So she would aim me back in the right direction. And she didn't mind if I sent it in again.
Yeah.
So that by the time it came round to the actual assignment going in, I actually knew what I was talking about. And I felt better. But it did take, you have to have that you have to have that support and find where it is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that I've never been good at. I've never been good at asking people for help at all. So I just really struggle with it because I think I don't want to impose. But actually, I think seeing you do that, and I know that you still occasionally see some of those lecturers when students are coming out to your classroom and that kind of thing. But they want to help. They want you to pass. And so the supports are there for a reason. Yeah, why wouldn't you make the most of them?
That's it, yeah. And that was my only interaction I had. I didn't have the other students to bounce ideas off and listen to them and think, oh, no, I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if you were to do it again, would you go and do it internally? If it was an option, because, with the whole thing with uni at the moment.
I think I would like to go internally, yes, just for a different experience.
Yeah.
And to see what that would be like. I wouldn't mind doing it online again. But yeah, definitely internal. Yeah. And see what life's like.
Spending it in
those
the tab.
rows.
Do you think that you missed out on the experience because you weren't able to go in there, you weren't able to make those connections and have the social support as well?
Yes, I do actually. Because when it came to graduating, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And so
you knew us. We would have gone and cheered you on.
I know you would. But you won't go up and you stand in your line. I would have loved to have done it, but because I knew no one there, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
That is a regret. I really do wish I'd done that, especially after taking you and watching you go through it and thinking, I missed that.
Yeah.
But
no, you have to do it again, so you get to go and stand in your cap and gown.
Do it again. That's it, yeah.
Any other regrets, do you think?
Not really. I've been very fortunate in that everything that I've done has been at the right time for me. So if I'd have gone to uni earlier, I look around at the women that I work with and the men that I work with, and some of them have never left school.
Yeah.
And so I think they don't have the same life experiences that I have. And I think that's been a great help to me.
Yeah.
So going earlier, no. I don't think I've got any other regrets, to be quite honest, no. No.
And so that's probably something that's worth chatting about as well. So with going when you were a mature age student, it did mean that you did come out with a whole heap of life experience. It also meant that by the time you were teaching in a classroom, you didn't have small children at home. So, you didn't have to choose, do I give all of my energy and compassion to the children at school or the children at home? So because we were kind of...
Yeah, blown the nest.
Yeah, or close to.
Yeah. No, definitely like that. You do see people at work that have got young children and they're tired because the kids have been up all night and they've got this, that and the other. They don't want to go to school the next day. Just all kids are the same.
Yeah.
Whether in your class or whether they're your kids. And they're torn.
Yeah.
What do? Do they stay home with their child? Do they go to work? Yeah.
And I often think that when you've got as a parent with children who are going to school now, there are times when you're dropping your children off to school and you see the young teacher, and I know I'm going to sound old now, but you see the young teachers and they just don't have compassion for the small kids.
No.
And you're like, oh, you're 7 now, you're a big girl, you should be able to do this. No, they're 7. They're a small child. Like, somebody needs to be holding them and supporting them. Don't make them grow up before they need to. And I wonder, because you did have children that, you know, while we'd left high school, we were still relatively young as well.
Yeah.
That you still, and then I had children relatively young. So you got to see children as children rather than just small adults, and this idea that, oh, well, once you're in year 1, you should be completely self-reliant.
And I think having grandchildren also helped me to look at things differently, because I had big expectations for you two. I still have big expectations for my grandchildren, but I have that empathy for them because I've seen you go through it and I know what's coming up for them.
Yeah.
So therefore I also know what's coming up for the children in my classroom and what challenges they face.
Yeah.
And they need help.
Yeah.
They need someone to help them and to listen. So I did have that empathy. I do have that. I hope I still have that empathy. But being a mature person, when you come out, also, people don't look at you and think, she don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
They look at you and think, she's been doing this since the year dot.
Yeah.
She knows what she's on about.
And that was the other thing I was going to say. So even though you're a first-year grad, when you're looking at a first-year grad who's 40 compared to a first-year grad who's 22, then I imagine you get treated a little bit differently.
A lot differently. People just look at me and think she's done it since forever.
Yeah, she's been doing this since she was 19, so we're all good here.
That's right. Yeah. And they're wrong.
Yeah. Have you had any issues where did you ever have any issues where you did experience any of those things that you were worried about around people judging you because you were the older person that was there, or, you know, so you didn't necessarily go into campus during the semester, but you did go and do summer schools and things like that. So there were times where you were visibly an older student. Did you ever have any experiences where people, so we just talked about the positives of going out as a first year grad when you're 40 compared to when you're 22. Yeah. Did you ever experience it where people did judge you because you were older? No. I was very fortunate. The people that I met at summer school were delightful. Some of them were your age, you know, and I was able to relate to them. Yeah. And they were able to relate to me. I don't know whether they saw me as Mom, I hope not. So I'd have been mortified, or just Kathryn. Yeah. That's what I wanted. So, and they were the ones that came up to me when I went in for my studies with the Piaget. Yeah. And they said, oh, look, we had a course on this, and this is what they were going to be looking at here. And they went through all of the points with me. They sat down. And that's when I found out that Piaget was Piaget. So I must have got on well with them. Yeah. So, but I never had anybody look down at me. And when we did assignments together, I would say to them, look, I'm really nervous about this. Everybody's nervous about group assignments.
If I go wrong, just tell me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. And they're all, just lovely.
Did you, so group assignments are a bit of a, like, nobody likes group assignments because trying to get a group to work together is like trying to shove mud uphill. Yeah. Like it's awful. Did you ever experience it where, because you were the older person, it fell to you to be like the person that organised it or the person that would pick up the slack because...
No. Remember, I'm the quiet one at the back that keeps her mouth shut so that she doesn't get noticed. That's me.
Yeah.
So no, never.
Awesome. So anything else that you sort of think that you had concerns about that actually turned out to not be at all justified in reality?
Yeah.
Most of the concerns, really.
You were smart enough. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I did it. I managed it. I had no idea how. I seriously do not know how I got there. And I enjoyed it. Yeah. And that's, whether I got the job at the end of it or not, I enjoyed what I did. This is 4 years of my life. Yeah. So if you don't enjoy it,
That's it. Do something else.
Do something else, yeah.
And so that's probably something to think about as well, that, you know, I know when I was going to school, from your very first year in high school, the teachers are telling you need to know now what, I suppose this is kind of, it comes down to where today's topic came from. So yeah, this idea that your first year in high school, and actually I'm seeing it with some kids who are in year 6 finishing up primary school, you need to know what you're going to do with the rest of your life, because you need to be making decisions when you're going into year 7 around what subjects you're choosing for year 7, so that you can be making sure that you're in the right streams for year 12 to get into the right unit. Because if you don't do well on your ATAR, that's it, your life is over. So, you know, I certainly heard that when I was going to school, which was really easy for me to go, no, it's not. My mum's about to turn 40 and she's just finishing uni. If she can do it, then I don't really need to. Like, there's other avenues to get into university. But how are we this many years later, and as my daughter was heading through and finishing year 10, still hearing those exact same words? You need to be focused now, because if you don't do well in your ATAR for year 11 and 12, that's it. Your career is decided when you're 13 years old. What?
Yeah, it's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. There are so many different ways. And university is not the be-all and end-all for everybody.
Yeah. And that was kind of where I was coming to say that, you know, you said that this is 4 years of your life. If you don't enjoy it, do something else. So that's it. University isn't for everyone, but career change can be.
Oh, yeah. You could change careers without going to university.
Yeah.
And you can work your way up the ladder if that's what you want to do.
But so there's two different things there, I guess. One is that university isn't the be-all and end-all at all. So there are so many different jobs. And so for people who might be listening who are thinking, oh, well, I'd really like to do that, but I could never go to uni. Well, there's actually nothing to stop you. You could just give it a crack. And who knows, you might be able to do it. But also there might be jobs that you don't need to go to uni for. And for our kids, and even for ourselves in 5 years' time, there might be jobs that are available in 5 years' time that we haven't even thought of.
That's it. The world's changing so much and so quickly.
Yeah.
You know, computers and internets and everything.
Well, even the fact that we're sat here recording this podcast.
Yes.
This wasn't something that you did, 20 years ago.
I wouldn't have done it last week.
Yeah, well, that's true.
About 20 years ago.
I was a bit desperate. Thanks, Mum. So lots of different options. So for people who are thinking about changing careers, I guess you're not just limited by university courses that are on offer.
No, definitely not. There's a lot out there. The hard bit is knowing where to look.
That's it, because you don't know what you don't know.
No.
So there's different pathways for different things as well. And I guess I'm hoping that people hear. So if you're looking for ways to change your career, then there's options. But also, if you're parenting someone who's 12 and being told the choices that you make in maths now are going to decide whether you're a successful person or not even going to go into the whole thing of your career makes you a successful person or not. But, at 12, you need to be deciding what maths you're doing, because that's going to impact what uni you can do in the whole rest of your life. I want people to be able to hear for their kids that actually this isn't the be-all and end-all either. No. Doing ATAR to get into uni, there are lots of other options.
Yeah, so many options. But even choosing the right course for you at uni. I do remember you, as you left school and we went on a holiday, going up the plane steps and saying, I've decided I'm doing this at university and I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah, you did. And so when we came back off holiday, after you got the place in uni and everything, we sat at the university ground with the book and went from A to Z.
Yeah, that's exactly how I chose my career.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And again, I wonder if that's because even though I saw you modelling that you don't have to go, you don't have to choose when you're 12, 13, 15, 17 what you want to do, there was still this expectation that you leave school and you go to uni. So, I had spent 2 years focusing on that, I really wanted to be a microbiologist. Got and done work experience and all of that, and then all of my studies were in science and maths so I could get in there. And sat my final exams and got a decent mark, got accepted. But yeah, as you said, as we were, I don't think we had to step up the steps.
I think
We were walking along the gangplank, whatever it is. Did say, yeah, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
You did manage to not hit me. The look of daggers shooting from you did make me think you did want to strangle me. We've just been through all that, and yeah,
and it's fine.
Yeah, that's it.
Didn't hurt you in the slightest bit.
Nope.
No.
Did my however many years of psych course and haven't used it once.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the best. I'm not sure I'm the best advocate for that, am I? What about so going back to some of the things at uni, and I'm just thinking about when there were times with high stress around exams and assignments being due, things like that. Did you have any kind of tips or tricks to help people deal with the anxiety around that, and how you can get through that with some sanity intact?
Some sanity intact.
Well, ideally with some, but if not, then just getting through it.
Because we did it together, I studied. When I saw that you were very stressed, we used to go for a walk. We bought a 30-cent ice cream cone from McDonald's, sat on the wall, and walked back again.
Yeah.
And
I think then exercise may have been negated by the ice cream.
But it was getting out of the house, getting away from it, and just talking about different things.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with uni at all. So as for the exam stress, I don't know how you can get rid of that. I did learn to allot my time. And once I got that right, so if you're writing an essay, I would work out how much time I'd got, how much time I needed to spend on each part of each essay, and watch the clock for it.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I teach my kids in my class, even now at year 2.
Yeah.
We're still looking at that. So that stress goes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I found. That worked for me.
Yeah. Different strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you... So you've been a teacher for a little while now. How do you enjoy actually being a teacher?
I have fun every single day. I play.
Yeah.
We cook, we bake, we measure. Cooking's a marvellous thing, I think. It's science, it's maths, it's language. If I'm not having fun, how can I expect the children to have fun? Yeah. Because if you're bored, you don't give off that energy, that vibe, that this is fun. Yeah. And I'd like to think that I instill in my kids the joy of maths, because maths is my favourite. So at the end of the day, when I can't add two together, the children all enjoy it because a lot of it is play-based. Yeah. I get paid to play. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I kind of do something similar here. I've been with the organisation for a long time now. But I find that if I get bored, then the whole team here feels that. So similar to a classroom, I think you've got to find ways to be able to keep that excitement level up. And part of that is making sure that you are doing a job that you love. So it's something else for people who are possibly thinking about changing careers. It's not just your life that you're actually impacting. So if you're doing something that you hate, what does that do when you, like, for the people you work with, but more importantly for your family?
Yeah. That must be terrible, I must admit. So, but yeah, change it. Being a teacher, I can change years. And if I change years, I have to change everything. Yeah. I can't use the same thing year in, year out. I don't ever want to do that. Yeah. And I need that change. Yeah. And in a lot of jobs, you don't get that. You do the same thing day in, day out for 40, 50 years.
Yeah. And that's happening less and less, though.
Yes. Yeah. But I look back at my brothers and my sisters, and that was their choice, and that's what they did.
And you're right. Your brothers and sisters, so your brothers and sister most definitely stayed in that pattern. Yes. And you were the first person from your family to go to uni, and you were the first person to kind of step away from that thing, that the job that you have when you're 15 is the job that you have when you retire 50, 60 years later.
And even that safe place of being home and close to mum and dad. Yeah. Yeah.
My brother moved 40 minutes away, and that was a long way.
It was. Yeah. Used to go for the day for a 40-minute drive. But yeah, I mean, I have a brother that's an architect. Another one that deals in metals.
Yeah.
So they're very, very clever fellas.
Yeah.
But they've never been to university. So, and this is all they've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. So if somebody was, is listening to this and they are, they're hating their job and they think that they've got a passion and they'd really, they'd like to give it a go, but actually it all feels a little bit scary and it all feels a little bit hard, what would you say to them?
It is scary. It is. It's hard. It's different. So it's scary and hard in a good way because of the sense of, I suppose, fulfillment that you get from doing something that's different. I like to do things that are different, I must admit. But yeah, I don't know how to finish that off now. I've lost my train of thought there. But yeah, it is scary. It's hard. I'd still wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah.
I'd still go and do it. So.
I think it's around trying to look at going, okay, well, what makes it scary and what makes it hard? And what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, that's always been my thing. What happens? All right. Yeah. So I don't pass.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite things with the kids in my classroom, we have a test. So you have to have tests, unfortunately. And I'll say to them, what happens if you don't pass it? Is this guy going to fall in? No, it's not. Am I going to get cross? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
There are far worse things in life than getting 2 + 2 = 4. Correct.
Yeah.
Seriously are.
And, so as we're recording this, my kids have been doing NAPLAN this week and last week. And, sort of saying to them, do you know when the last time was? So I interview a lot of people for different roles within the health service. And probably last year I would have interviewed about 100 people. So it's quite a lot. And I say to my kids, do you know when the last time was that I asked someone how they did in year 3 NAPLAN? Or do you know when the last time was that I interviewed somebody and asked them how they did in year 9 maths? Or actually, do you know when the last time was that I sat in an interview with someone who is a qualified psychologist and said, tell me about the units that you failed? Because the reality is P's get degrees.
Yeah.
So you just need to pass. You don't need to be coming in with high distinctions. It's all nice and everything, but P's get degrees. You just need to pass, and that's all you need. So if you get high distinctions, awesome. But at the same time, we're just looking for the piece of paper.
Yeah.
So yes, sometimes you may think that you know all about the Battle of Hastings and you did, your history that you did when you were 13 years old and you don't need to study that, but turns out actually perhaps you did need to study that. And you might have to repeat a history unit, but so what?
I failed a unit, as you've just said. I failed history because I thought I knew it, and I didn't.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I did take that one again because it was an elective. I failed it. Pass it on.
And so when I did my my undergrad degree, and this is something that I tell my kids as well, all of my electives, I picked fun stuff.
Oh, you did?
I did. So my undergrad was, my major was in psychology, my minor was in addiction studies, and then my electives were in beverage appreciation. So 9 o'clock on a Friday morning, I was at the Hyatt in the city drinking cocktails, and then I had to stumble through the city to the train and try and stay awake long enough to get to Joondalup, which often didn't happen. I'd hear ping, doors closing. I was pulling out of Joondalup to go back towards the city, try and jump off. And then I had to try and sit and stay awake during a biostats exam session. So I got 98% on beverage appreciation and 51% on biostats. But, when you pick topics that excite you and light you up, you're going to do better. So don't pick the topics that you think don't pick the topics that you think you should pick because, people are going to, what a future employer is going to think if they see my my transcript and see that I've got beverage appreciation on there. I tell you what, every single person who's seen my transcript and seen beverage appreciation on there's gone, oh, I wish they had did that when I was at uni. We just called that going to the pub. But that's it. So when you've got electives, you can choose the fun ones.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, there are a lot more fun ones now than there were. I don't know if they still do that one. I'm sure they can't.
I don't know. They opened a microbrewery, but I don't know whether or not they do that anymore. They should. It was a good subject, good couple of subjects there.
It was for a girl that never drank.
Yeah, I know. Didn't help with the biostats unit, that's for sure. So I think there's ways that you can reduce some of those stress, and there's ways that you can make things easier. And when you pick topics that light you up, it certainly makes it a lot easier to learn and a lot easier to remember and a lot easier to actually study it.
Yeah, and summer school. I found that doing my electives in summer school was a big help.
Yeah.
But nobody told me about it the first year. Otherwise, I'd been 2 units ahead of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We get to do intensives.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I was looking that your dad was a shift worker, and I could work it around those shifts.
I don't know. We sat in the back of a lecture hall a couple of times.
Yeah.
But that's the thing as well.
Yeah.
People do that.
Yeah.
And now, certainly a few of the different unis, they've got creches available. So if you've got young children, you can go and access a creche. If you've got, you're trying to work around your kids' schooling, you can access online learning, which you can watch, at your own pace when it suits you. Probably not at your own pace. You've still got to do it in the semester, but it doesn't have to be 2:00 on a Tuesday.
No, that's it. So that if something happens on Tuesday, you know that you can do it the next day or the day after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I suppose, being organised, and I'm the least organised person that there is.
Yeah.
Going. So, but I got around it somehow. So, yeah.
So I guess kind of what I'm thinking is just do it.
Definitely. Yeah, don't stand there thinking, I wish.
Yeah.
Go out, have a go, give it a go. And as you say, if you don't like it within the first few weeks, it's cost you nothing.
Yeah.
But you've still had that experience and you think, yeah, I can do it. No, I can't.
Yeah. Or if you decide to, study and you do 2 years of one particular degree, and then you go, actually I've just gone and done prac, and it turns out this is not the course for me, or this is not the area that I would need to be studying. You can get recognition of prior learning or use them as electives in different, nothing's wasted.
No.
And the education and information that you've learned, you've got that for life. No one can take that away from you just because you don't get the degree at the end of it.
Exactly right. Yes. Well said.
Fab. So have you got any last thoughts before we finish up?
No, I think we covered everything, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Just want to double check.
Go for it.
Okay, so I guess what I heard was that it turns out that you don't have to be perfect in order to start.
Definitely.
So, there are people who are at the top profession or heading towards the top of their profession. They're probably suffering from imposter syndrome as well. Or actually, they might not be able to spell or add up. That's okay. So, I think we often, and particularly now, it wasn't such a thing then, but particularly now, we have this idea around where we're trying to compare our reality with the shiny, polished version that we see on Facebook and Instagram of other people's lives.
Yeah.
And yet then, so you kind of go, well, I don't match up. And then you see a principal spell dolphin with an F. And it turns out maybe if he can do it, you can do it too.
Definitely.
So, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to start.
Yeah, give it a go. Take that first step. And you might find out it's not as hard as you thought it was.
Yeah.
And if it does get a little bit hard, keep going.
Or take a break.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the hard part can be, well, it's all well and good saying take that first step, but what is the first step? So for you, what would be your first step? So if you were going to go back to uni now, what would you do as a first step?
When I went to uni, there was only one step I could take. Murdoch was the only university that did external studies.
How did you find that out though?
I rang around the universities.
So that's your first step?
Yeah.
Ring and ask.
And yeah, as you say, it's still the same thing that I do now.
Yeah. Because there are people at the universities, or there are people at the TAFEs, there are people, there are people who are there who are actually there to help you.
Yes.
So pick up the phone, call the, something like student services or prospective students. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Call the prospective students information line. There's normally one in every school. But if you don't know, just call the university. They should know what their school offers. And they'll put you in contact with people who will be able to answer those questions and tell you how you can start or what you need to start and what those first steps are.
The university needs students to keep going.
Particularly at the moment, because they don't have their international students coming. So that's true. Now's a really good time.
So, that's the best thing to do. Go have a walk round. See what you think.
Yeah.
Look at the canteen.
The canteen.
I like the canteens.
Now they have really restaurants. Yeah. And actually, so that is a good thing. So I think we should be coming up to second semester orientation, or, it is a really good time to go and walk around and see what the schools have to offer and see what the vibe's like, really.
Yeah, definitely. Is it somewhere that you can feel comfortable?
Do you stand out as being the only person that's over 16, 17?
You will be amazed at how many older people are at university.
And they're students. They're not just the teachers. No. Often the lecturers are younger.
Definitely. They certainly are lots younger than you. And they don't look down at you either.
Yeah.
Without you, they don't have a job.
And they're passionate about it. They want to share this information with you. They'll honestly, I talk to university lecturers and it's trying to shut them up that's the problem, because they're so excited about it and there's somebody who wants to listen to me. They're going to run with that.
Yeah.
So, definitely. I think that's your first thing. Don't come up with reasons why you can't do it. Think about reasons that you can do it, and pick up the phone, make that first phone call. You don't even have to pick up the phone. You can try Googling. If you can make your way through a university website, though, honestly, I take my hat off to you. I've given in. But pick up the phone or try going for a search through it. Yeah. Fab. Thank you so much for joining me today and being part of this. I know that you're not necessarily a huge fan of talking about yourself or recording anything, so I appreciate that you've stepped out of your comfort zone to share your experiences of what it was like going back to uni and changing careers and doing all that while juggling a family and your career and a husband and household and all of those kinds of things, and doing it with limited social supports. So I really appreciate you spending this time with me today.
You are most welcome. Being with you is always fun.
Thanks. All right, thanks so much. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of A Hidden World of Women, a podcast brought to you by Women's Health and Wellbeing Services. For more information on the services we offer, head to whws.org.au or Women's Health and Wellbeing Services on YouTube and social media. Looking forward to the next episode where we uncover the hidden world of women.